Today's video is going to be a little bit different than the rest of the vlogs in the sense that it's not going to be about my day-to-day living in a van or any other sort of shenanigans that I might be getting up to with Stella and Penny, who, if you're new to the channel, are the two cats that I live with full-time in my converted tiny home on wheels. But rather, it's going to be a video that allows me to do two things. One is practice using this very cool little microphone that was sent to me by a couple subscribers. Hi, Martin. Hi, Amelia. And two, it's going to give me a chance to talk about something I've wanted to do for a while that I thought might be, an informative video. And I thought, well, how can I make it more entertaining? How can I make it more humorous? How could I make it bigger and bolder? And honestly, the only thing that kept happening was I kept putting it off, and I just wasn't making said video. And I hate when I have ideas in the back of my head and nothing ever comes of them. So today, we're going to talk about something very important to me. Well, not just the pooper. Okay. The house is a mess, as per usual. There we go. Good enough. All right. So this is my list of 7 essential items you may need, or that I think are quite necessary. That is what essential means, if you're gonna live in a vehicle. And the reason I thought that this might be pertinent for me to do is more so for the fact, because of the state of the world. There are plenty of videos out there going over this sort of thing or this specific topic. And these are not items that you would automatically assume. We're not going to be going over blankets, pillows, diesel heaters or space heaters or propane heaters or clothing for different seasons or snow brushes for the vehicle. Like, these are all things that either are being covered by plenty of other people or are, in my opinion, very common sense items. Now, a lot of the items that I will talk about are also going to come across as common sense. It's just when I thought about it after living in my van for over a year now, these were the 7 items that I probably found the most luxurious and necessary. You could get by without them for sure. You might just not be as comfortable. And what do I mean by the state of the world? Well, we live in a very turbulent time, in my opinion. And I know that there's lots of people out there that just continue to want to live their lives with their heads stuck in the sand. But I'm not talking about any of that icky business that really starts to get under people's skin for some reason. No, I'm talking about the black and white stuff right in front of our faces. Gas prices are on the rise again. I say again because in my area, they were actually coming down, or they came down a couple months ago, but they're on their way back up now. Inflation is at an all-time high, at least in my adult life when I've been paying attention to prices. And I know it's not just me that's feeling this because it's everywhere. You talk to anyone, most people are feeling this squeeze. People I work with, friends I talk to on the daily, other people out and about in my, albeit limited social life, are all feeling these pressures. People I know that live in sticks and bricks are constantly telling me how their rent keeps going up, or they're feeling like they're being price gouged by landlords. And at the end of the day, those landlords might not necessarily be price gouging them, but they're feeling the squeeze of everything else as well. Houses are just insanely expensive. They've been expensive my entire life. I feel like at this point, that's an old adage where it's like, what, 50 years ago, a single family of a man and a woman, they could just buy a house. The man could go to work, the woman could stay at home, and they'd own this big, beautiful house. Not a frickin' chance of that happening these days. That's probably the least newest thing. Plus, then you've also got everybody concerned about the war that's going on, and I don't know, where it feels like we're in the middle of another Cold War and we don't know what's going to happen. So that's a constant topic of conversation everywhere I look, as well as the inflation in the gas prices. Oh, and let's not forget the fact that I have physically seen with my own eyes, because I've been very candid with the fact that I've spent that year of my van life, majority of it at Walmart parking lots. And I saw this summer the uptick of vehicle dwellers go through the roof. Now, sure, in all fairness, a handful of those people that I saw were campers on their way through, or maybe even just trying the van life out. But I'll tell you this, the majority of the people that I saw were people living in their cars. I'm talking about sedans, coupes, They were a little bit more fortunate, they had an SUV. And I did have conversations with a few of these people, and of course it's the same old story you always hear. They lost their job, downsizing. These are the times we live in, and I know that there are people that are either considering living in a vehicle, desiring to live in a vehicle, or maybe even struggling with the thought that they may be forced to live in their vehicle. So that is the whole point of this video, is if you're having any of those thoughts, whether it's coming from a completely positive place or a negative place, these are my 7 essential items that may just make that decision easier. All right, enough yapping, let's get to the list. Number 1, elephant in the room. If you're gonna live in a vehicle, like the book says, everybody poops. This is one of those things that's more of a peace of mind, at least when it comes up in conversation. It's an item you want to have and not need it, then need it and not have it. And I'll share a story with you. Don't worry, it's not super gross and there won't be any graphics. Yeah, if you're going to be living in your vehicle and you're in a big populated center like a city, you hope and absolutely take advantage of the fact that there are many public washrooms around. I'm in a park right now. There's a washroom right there that I could go use. Staying in a Walmart parking lot, they're open till 11. There's going to be places in other countries where stores stay open 24 hours a day, and then you don't have to worry about it. But may come a time where you're in your home on wheels and you feel the urge, and you're going to be thankful you have it, whether it's a bucket or one of those foldable toilets, which I actually have but haven't gotten to yet. Keep a weathered eye on the horizon for that video. Or, in my experience, I was coming back from a camping trip, and little did I know, but I had an absolutely debilitating disease that caused me to from both ends. It was horrible at the time and I had no time to think. But when I look back on it, man, I'm glad I had the bucket and my sink. Because here's the thing, if I was just in a regular car, yeah, it's one thing to pull over and vomit on the side of the road. Could you imagine having to pull your pants down and on the side of the road? I mean, that's just an argument to have a bucket in anybody's car, whether you live in it or not. So, bucket, collapsible toilet, cassette toilet, compostable toilet, whatever. Yes, this might be the most obvious thing. And most people might look at this and say, I'm not in a bucket. I'm telling you, better to have it, not need it, darling. All right, now, moving right along to item number 2. These are in no specific order, except for the one at the end. Always save the best for last. Let's go with these. Some form of body wipe. Whether it's a senior citizen's wipe or a baby wipe or whatever else you could do. There's those dude wipes you can get on Amazon. You can also get knockoff versions of those at the dollar store. I've used them. They're not going to rub your skin off. There's nothing to be concerned about. These are going to come in handy in those moments when you can't get to a shower. Again, just like the toilets, if you're in a big urban center, gym membership, community centers, anywhere that has any sort of public showers, truck stops, all of those places have showers. More often than not, people are going to lean towards those options, and I totally get it. We are absolutely, no, I was going to say conditioned. We're not conditioned to want to be clean. I think we just want to be clean, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. But there will come a time where you may find yourself in a situation where you don't have access to a shower, you don't have time for a shower, or let me tell you this from personal experience, you're just too bloody exhausted to want a shower. No, it's not the best, but in a pinch, it ain't half bad. Garbage bags. Those aren't necessities. That falls under the category of you might want somewhere to put garbage. Unless you're any of the teenage girls that I grew up with, that's just the car. Moving right along. A knife. Or in my case, knives. I have well, I'm not going to say problem, maybe mild obsession with them, but they do come in handy more often than not. I definitely recommend trying to get a little bit more of a higher quality one. It's going to last a little longer. If you can see my door, you see that there's 2 more right here in grabbing distance. Depending on what you're going to be doing, this one's really good for chopping wood, or well, cutting wood. I don't recommend chopping it with a knife. That's just, you're going to be there forever. This one's great for starting fire and, something wood, but they can also be used as day-to-day stuff. Taking threads off clothes, spreading butter on toast. You name it, a knife is just one of those things that's great to have. I think everybody should have one on them, even if you don't live in a vehicle. But you're going to find a lot of use out of these things. And like I said, the higher quality the knife, the better. Cheap knives are not good. Definitely stay away from that. But a knife is something that's going to be invaluable, for sure. And it's a great way to replace scissors, just saying. Again, this will kind of go without saying, and we all have them because we have our phones. So some sort of flashlight. This would be considered a defense flashlight. It will blind you. It's also serrated on the tip. I could crack you in the head if you're trying to come, get my goodies. Why did I point there? But at the end of the day, the most important part is its illumination feature. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've been in my van and I just needed a little bit of light. I don't want to turn on the house lights. I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up and get my phone. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. My space is big. If you're in a small car, maybe not necessary. You got your phone, boop, turn your flashlight on, you're good. But this has come in handy to just find whatever. In my case, I probably dropped like runts or something and I wanted to find them. And you don't have to get something this fancy. Just anything that provides you a little bit of light. And I think the more, the merrier. But to a point. You don't want to have like a car full of flashlights. But what if your phone's dead? You know what I mean? That's just that emergency situation. Get a flashlight, throw it in your car, forget about it. You'll be glad you have it when you need it. Again, a little bit more important for bigger spaces. Now before I forget, one of these items I didn't want to cram into the bucket, and that is privacy curtains of some sort, right? Window blockers. I did see, now maybe they don't care, but a couple of those people that I mentioned that I talked to that were forced to live in their vehicles, they just sleep in the car with the windows awake. And so you're bare ass to the ceiling. No, that didn't actually happen, but it could. I mean, I guess if you don't have any much insulation, you're probably not sleeping naked. So it's okay at the end of the day. But some sort of privacy curtain, window blocker, right? I think these are something that are easily forgettable, but will be the first thing you realize you may want. Even if it's just a blanket or like a shirt rolled up in the window, at least for me, I really like the idea of being able to block out the world. It gives me that sense of privacy, that sense of comfort, especially if, you know, you gotta use the facilities. But that's something you might not automatically think about if you haven't spent a lot of time in your car. Hey, not such a bad list. I don't even know what number we're on. Well, if it's accurate, we're moving on to number 6. And this is so funny. Spare key. I am sad to admit I have locked myself out of Lucky more times than I want to count. Ugh. And now if you've got some sort of roadside assistance, it's not the worst. Wow. You guys see that bird? If I did, do an instant replay. They're being very friendly right now. Let's hope the cats don't see. So yeah, some sort of roadside assistance, like here it's AMA. I think you guys have AAA in the States. I don't know what other places of the world. I'm sure you've got something similar. That's probably the go-to for sure, but those can get pricey. The very first thing I did after I got lucky, after, you know, realizing I made the best choice of my life, was I locked my keys in it, even before I had broken ground on anything to do with the build. That was a sweet $250 to get a locksmith out to do it. That's when I thought I had learned my lesson and went and got a key cut immediately. But yeah, a spare key, and I don't recommend keeping it in your toilet, like where I just pulled this one from, because more often than not, I mean, I hope you... Oh, hello, sir. How are you? Come join the festivities? There are cats in here. That's what I thought. Oh, boy. Yeah, don't keep it in your toilet, because your toilet's probably going to be in your house. And what good is that going to do you? I have got a little pouch I keep on my hip. You'd think that's bulletproof. It's not, because I don't always have the pouch on my hip. Penny, stay inside. Come on, darling. I don't trust you with these birds. Quick aside, before I was living in the van when we were still in sticks and bricks, I had a little cage for her that I put her in outside, you know, to enjoy the weather. Yeah, she caught a bird in the cage. I don't know if that says something about her or something about the stupid ass bird. You're a killer. You're on a list somewhere. So keep it on your person, give it to a friend, or of course get one of these magnetic keys and hide it on your car somewhere. All right, and that brings us to the absolute final thing. And I did say save the best for last, so here it is. No, it's not just a piece of tissue. It is actually just a little bit more philosophical than that. Another nicer way of saying that is just have the confidence in what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with having to or wanting to live in your vehicle. We are absolutely conditioned, there's that word again, to think that we have to live a certain way. You have to live in sticks and bricks. You have to have items that define your life. And I just do not agree with that. I spoke in my Chapter 2 finale video about how the most important thing you can take with you in any facet of life, not just vehicle dwelling, is to not care what anybody else thinks of you. And that is one side of a two-sided coin, where the other side is to just have confidence in what you're doing. We live in, like I said, turbulent times. And in one way you can look at that as a negative, but this whole van life, nomadic lifestyle, for lack of a better word, is becoming a bigger and bigger movement by the day. And with the trajectory of everything else in the world, it's not going to slow down anytime soon. Yeah, they may shut us down from staying at Walmarts or any other sort of big centers like that eventually, but that means we're all just going to move to the bush and probably have a bit of a better life anyway. So that I think is the most important thing, is just have the confidence in what you're doing. Because like I said, there may be those people that are concerned that they may not have a choice. They may have to live in their cars. I mean, I guess at that point, if you have to do it, it doesn't matter if you've got confidence or not. This is where you are. But if you're feeling down or depressed about it because you're like, oh my God, I'm living in my car, how embarrassing. No, man, you're surviving. And hopefully one of these items will just make that whole experience a little bit more easy. And I hope this video maybe at the very least was a tiny bit informative and a lot of bit entertaining. I know it wasn't similar to what I normally do, but I'm going to leave it here, you guys. Obviously, I've got more items. I could do a part 2 to this if you are interested. Let me know in the comments below. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Click the like button, and I will see you all in the next one. Until then, go out there, be happy, be creative, be yourselves. Most importantly, be positive, and don't let the cats eat the birds. All right.